Hello and welcome to NoCB, a grand strategy podcast. This is for the week of May 27th, 2020. I am your host, TJ Hafer, and with me, as usual, are our amazing panelists, including Lambert.
Hello there.
Oh, thanks for reminding me about CaptionBot. Let me switch him on there. There we go. And including Father Loris.
Hello. Hi.
And our special guest this week is Zlewikk.
Hello there.
And since you are new to the show, before we get into grand strategy news, why don't you just let everybody know who you are, what you do, and how you got into grand strategy games?
Yeah, sure. I'm basically running a YouTube channel called Zlewikk TV. It's like since basically early 2017, and it's focused on EU4. Like 95% of the content is EU4. A little bit of Heads of Iron, and the other guys, they are in plans, but for now it's just those two. How I started with Paradox content was quite funny because I was a multiplayer gamer, and I was just doing memes for those games, and one of them just went viral, and that's how the channel started.
Yeah, I think that's how a lot of people start doing stuff. That's how I started doing comics, because I used to make comics, which were just my mates, and then and then I started publishing publicly, and a few of them got quite successful. I thought, okay. Start showing them off to the public.
I have an interesting story about that, I think. I'm a member of an EU4 group on Facebook, and I posted a meme to that, and it ended up in, I think, one of your videos.
Yes, there was this one video, it's called Every EU4 Game Ever, or something like that, and I've put all of the memes from this group, only memes from this group. So yeah, it's like quite possible that you were there.
I think it was EU4 is, or people who say that Stellaris is the first Paradox 4X, but actually EU4 is, because it's got the exploration ideas, the expansion ideas, and I can't remember what the other two are, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that ended up in one of your videos, which was funny enough.
Yeah, I did a similar video with Hearts of Iron lately, but I don't think you were there.
No, probably not.
Yeah, but if you guys have seen any of there's a good chance you probably have seen some of Zlewikk's videos in the past. If you've seen like movie scenes with EU4 flags pasted over them, a lot of them are like that format. They're pretty funny. You should definitely go check them out. Yeah, so EU4 is your main game. What is it specifically about EU4 that kind of sucked you in, do you think?
Oh, my history for Open Size is even longer than EU4, because it was shown to me by my cousin. It was in 2002, I was like just 8 years old. So like I was always in love with two things, history and strategy. So it's like a perfect combination that sucked me into the Paradox interactive games. But with the EU4 itself, like the beginnings were quite hard, because like I always like to play with my friends, and I was getting bored quite quickly because nobody was playing that at the beginning, especially in Poland. So I was even buying the game for my friends to play with me. But yeah, later I found some multiplayer community, so like with that I was in love with EU4 like 100%.
Paradox games do get a lot better with multiplayer.
Oh, sometimes. I only ever play multiplayer.
I have definitely bought the base game for friends before, just to have more people to play with in multiplayer. So yeah.
It's wonderful now. CK2 is like free. It's just
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Although I have gone through the process of trying to get all my friends to pay it. And I think I got everyone now, but from like one or two. And now it's free. So.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't played CK2 multiplayer in a long time, actually, but it seems like it works pretty well now compared to how it was.
Yeah, and even mods work really well. Multiplayer.
Yeah,
the Heimatnacht has been updated too, which is like.
But I've seen like completely different experience in the multiplayer than EU4. Like in EU4, everyone is just playing to be as good as possible, efficient, min-maxing one, while the CK2 is all about the roleplay, doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I do prefer the roleplay style better. I'm not a fan of min-maxing too much. Mostly because I'm not very good at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's not what I focus on.
Well, it's like an arms race, isn't it? One person starts min-maxing, another person starts min-maxing, and then suddenly everyone's doing it, and suddenly you're just playing an Excel spreadsheet of like maximum efficiency modifiers and stuff.
Yeah, I think the meta right now is pretty heavily focused on mercenaries late game, so that's changing.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see how that affects the multiplayer community.
Definitely. And we'll probably talk a pretty decent amount of EU4 here once we get to that dev diary, but we'll be starting, as usual, with Crusader Kings 3, dev diary number 28, which is focused on the art. We got to look at some of the unit models. We got to look at some of the different clothing styles. Any particular pieces of art that you guys found really exciting from this one?
Oh, well, this dev diary is like just a cavalcade of delights, isn't it? There's so many things. I love the diseases. That's probably something that stands out to me.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm curious.
They're so grotesque. They're fantastic.
Do you think that these two fellas are the same person?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so,
definitely.
yeah. It's like, oh, I'm the king. Oh, I've been deposed.
Yes.
And now I'm in the dungeon. Looks so sad.
I think it is definitely supposed to be the same person. Yeah. He took a sword blow to the face.
Horrible gash across his face. Look at it.
And
it's just so juicy, isn't it? Look how shiny and gross it is. You can see, like, oh my goodness, it looks like it's like weeping and slightly infected. It's brilliant, fantastic. We really nailed it. I hope the rest of
just the face
diseases.
Of, please kill me now.
Look,
yeah.
I hope they look disgusting as hell. That's what I want, especially leprosy. I want lepers to look awful.
Oh God, no thanks.
Oh man,
there's also quite a lot of swelling on his eye as well that you can. It's so noticeable.
There was a trait, congenital trait in the beta build I played where someone can have scales, and they actually like show scales on the character model.
Oh wow,
which is pretty neat.
Like Grayscale from Song of Ice and Fire.
Exactly. So you could breed a dynasty of reptilians if you really wanted to.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Also showing how the concept art got pushed into like the progression of it. It's pretty cool to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the costume designs are brilliant.
Yeah, I know they said they mentioned that there's going to be like a Western European clothing set. There's going to be Middle East, North Africa clothing set. It looks like that one with the leopard print. Like they didn't mention a sub-Saharan African clothing set, but it seems like there is one.
Definitely. It's certainly not Norse anyway.
Right, and then India, the steppe, and what they're calling northern pagans, which includes everything from like Vikings to Finns to like Slavic pagans, apparently. So
you forgot Byzantine is its own category as well.
Oh, right, yes. So Byzantines, they do get their own special clothing set at launch, even though they're not getting their own special government. So they haven't forgotten about the Byzantines.
Will all phenotypes be able to wear all clothing hairstyles of different cultures? I don't know.
I assume that's the case.
I think so.
I assume it's based on your culture, right?
Yeah, I think it's based on your culture, and your culture and your genetics are entirely separate. So.
It certainly wouldn't make any sense otherwise. If they do genetics, I'm about genetic clothes. You got that coding section of DNA codes for my hat.
Yeah.
Also, as I've been saying for a lot of weeks now, that the characters would, because they move, just taking a still image of them doesn't really work. It looks kind of janky, but now they've started adding little videos into the dev diary itself, so you can actually see that they don't look janky at all when they're actually in motion.
Yeah, it looks really smoothly right here. I
love how the little personalities, like the steward there has got the little money bag and the scroll for the. Oh, it's just lovely. Just a little bits of personality, and I hope that transfers into the portrait itself, just to give them.
It's just the real play experience over here should be way better. In Sekito, and everything was just static.
Yeah.
Right.
There was something I was worried about with them. As soon as they told us that the character portraits would like move during events and stuff. I was really worried that it would be so over the top and janky, with looking a bit like The Sims, and that really worried me. But seeing this and seeing the video that you did for IGN is it put my mind at rest. Like I'm totally happy with this.
Yeah, like even going back and playing Imperator now, like I feel like it's weird that the portraits don't move. So I'm like, wait, why are they frozen in time like that? Yeah. So yeah. The other big thing that they showed off is the new coat of arms systems is fully scriptable. Basically, like all of the elements that are on a coat of arms are just like a texture file that can be moved around and recolored using a script. They showed off in one of the dev comments. If you search for Saint Dave
Actually, I have
UK,
to open the dev diary.
Yeah, yeah, like you could theoretically make any kind of coat of arms you can think of. Like you can move elements around, you can tell it where to position them, what color it should be, what size it should be, and then like it's all dynamic. Like a cadet branch will just take your arms and quarter it with their arms. I don't know if they said anything specifically about sub-quartering. Like, can you quarter an already quartered flag like some of the Spanish realms did? Which would be pretty cool. But
a quarter on the quarter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at the Royal Coat of Arms of Spain, there's a lot going on. Like,
it's busy.
Yeah. Let me say, yeah, we've got
no coat of arms editor when the game is released, which is a little bit iffy. I kind of would like that, but
yeah,
it'll do.
I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you'll be able to mod it, I guess, but
it seems like the code for it is fairly easy as well.
Right. Yeah, I mean the example he showed, you should be able to do that in, a couple minutes, even if you're not super advanced with scripting. So
even I could do this.
Yeah,
I couldn't definitely.
I was talking about where all of the things are coming from as well. Like these ones are, for example, the Islamic coat of arms, because there was people sort of wondering what they're talking about with, the Saracenic heraldry. But they're showing the examples and see how many of these you can recognize as well.
Yeah, so it's not just going to be everyone just has a different colored star and crescent, which is kind of how it worked in CK2.
Yeah.
The other thing they showed us a little bit was the different levels of buildings and unit models. So, castles will kind of start out as this, wooden wall with basically a tower in the middle. And then you get a keep, and then you might get like a stone curtain wall, and then, finally late medieval, you can get like the full-on classic-looking medieval castle, which is pretty awesome. And
it looks like they don't want it really to simplify everything over here. Like, in my opinion, what they lack is probably they might add it later. Is the city sprawl, like just 4 types of cities is like with completely different development. It might not be enough.
Well, they do say that in the comments as well.
I think one of the comments addressed we aren't including a building sprawl system, but we heard the feedback, and we have people on the project that are keen to see sprawl make a return. So it won't make it in for release. We may see it come back in the future to help show the growth of provinces. Because I would miss that too. So.
And going by Imperator too, it's something that people they add a lot to the map as the development went on too. So it's I don't think it's something we're averse to adding, right?
I think it'd be awesome just to see little houses around the outside. Like have this be the centerpiece. That's what you're looking at when you're trying to figure out how developed a province is, or a barony or whatever. But then have the city growing outside of it, I think that would look fantastic.
That would look really cool.
Yeah,
and also burning.
for sure.
I'd like to see burning cities.
Yes.
Very important.
Yeah,
Imperator has spoiled
adds a
us
lot
with its
to
fire.
Empire.
It does, yeah. Because if you can't,
I think
see
like
your
all those
enemies
little
burn,
effects on maps, like just do once, like even in CK2 when the plague hits and you get those like animations of the people just piling up corpses.
Yeah,
guns, you know?
that's gruesome.
I really like it.
It would also be interesting if they included a way that as your city sprawled more, like deforestation could happen. Because I know that's particularly something that happened in Germany and Denmark as well in the late medieval and early modern eras. Is they used to be like I don't want to say mostly covered in forest, but largely covered in forest. Like the reason the king, like Scania, belonged to Denmark and not to Sweden was because the forests between like Scania and Gotland, like proper like Austergotland and Vestergotland, not Gotland the island. The Geats named too many things after themselves. It just gets confusing.
Like
basically,
Goths.
there was a huge dense forest between that part of the tip of Scandinavia that was traditionally controlled by Denmark until the EU4 times, and then what we would think of as like Sweden proper. Like you couldn't really march an army through there that effectively because it was so densely forested. But then that slowly got cut down over time as agriculture became more of a mainstay of the economy. So that would be cool. They've said that they want to focus on you being able to tell what terrain type you're looking at without having to click on a province, and I think they've done a pretty good job of that without making it look too artificial. Like you can definitely tell where farmlands are versus grasslands, like where the forests start. There's that screenshot of, I believe it's Egypt, where you can clearly see oasis, mountain, desert, dry land, and grassland that are, pretty well differentiated. So yeah, I think this map is rad as hell. To say the
I think
least.
so. So they mentioned in the diary that they've seen that in CK2 most of the people are using only Politica map mode, and they want to change it over here.
Yeah, definitely. As long as they get rid of those obnoxious white highlights that Lambert and I were talking about last week. Yeah, and then the unit models. They showed off some of the different tiers of unit models and how kind of based on the composition of your army, it'll either show a light or medium or heavy version of the different cultural unit models, which is kind of cool. They confirmed in the comments there's no horse models yet, but I mean, I imagine that would probably come with the step expansion or something like that.
Yeah, it's because every extra model that you add, it's basically squaring the amount of animations you have to do for combat. So while I would absolutely love to have a horse model, I can also see why it's not in. Unlike in EU4 where it's a cavalry just charging forward, they're not interacting with their combat opponent. In Imperator and in CK3 they do interact, so that's why they're not in. But I'd still love it. Also, I have no idea why this video cancelled.
Yeah, horse models would be really great, especially that they are talking about the role play every time. So like, playing as a horde and having infantry as a model is quite sucks a little bit.
Yeah.
Also,
I mean,
I'd like to see a knight.
They don't have the horde game type in yet, so when that comes in, that's the perfect time to add in another model because it's gonna be a thing.
Yeah. JS in chat is saying, TJ, since you've played, do you know if the battle animation corresponds to who attacks and who defends? I think it's actually based on who is winning. It's not based on who's the attacker and who's the defender. I think it's based on who currently has the advantage is what it I mean, again, I didn't look at the code, but that seemed like what decides which animations are playing is who currently has the upper hand.
Yeah, this animation is just beautiful. I love it.
Yes. Yeah, it's great.
There's another one here that is currently... Oh, there we go. Now it's working again.
Well, and they also said, they confirmed that the shields your guys are carrying around will actually be the shield of your realm, like including if you make a custom one, that will actually be applied to the unit models, which is really cool. And like same for like cadet branches with their quartered arms and stuff. So, yeah. That's going to be really cool, I think.
Yeah, play to that guy for taking all those blows, though. My goodness, like
yeah, absolute champion.
Yeah,
he's still standing. Yeah,
still standing.
Just imagine such thing in U4, like you're playing as Prussia with this 140% discipline and just kicking asses like that.
Yes, yeah,
Instead of a stack wipe just making the other army disappear, you should totally just have them fire once and then the dude falls over. I want to see the death animations.
That would be great. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else about the CK2 diary before we move on?
Best flag in the world is in. Let's just scroll down to it.
The
there we go. White
dragon flag,
red background. Yeah. That's magic.
Yeah, I definitely seen that, but somewhere.
Yeah. No, I wonder where.
Yeah.
And yes, for anyone wondering, this is the inspiration behind my profile picture everywhere.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm quite happy that that's in.
Yeah, it's cool.
And also,
Dragon of England.
Yeah,
cool. Yeah. Well, it makes more sense because
fought and lost to the red dragon in the stories, which is sad, but we all know it's fine.
Well, and I mean, it makes a lot more sense because there have never been lions in England, but there were dragons, so it's more historically accurate.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So
one thing that's interesting about this coat of arms specifically, though, is if at the start of the game you'll have the white dragon of England, but if William the Bastard comes and conquers you, then it'll change to his coat of arms here. And then it's just got a tier system. And I love that. I absolutely love that. Although it's never going to happen because the White Dragon will reign supreme.
Yes. Harold Godwinson was the last true king. Yes. That's how it works. Yeah. So that's CK3 for this week. And I believe that we also have a fairly significant Imperator Dev Diary too, finally going into more detail over changes that are coming to factions for Rome specifically and for republics more broadly. Lambert, why don't you lead us off with this one?
Yeah, so the way that republics currently work is a little bit awkward. To understand why a certain faction is supporting you or not supporting you and how to improve that support and do all that play, it's incredibly tedious. It's buried in tooltips on tooltips, and it's not that fun. So they're changing it to be more character focused. They're changing it to be more based on like your actions as the consul or the suffet or whatever kind of ruler you are will kind of influence how these factions feel about you and improve their support that way. And if you then do something they don't like, then the support will go back down again. They've also changed it, especially for Rome, where instead of having the standard what they called militarist faction, religious faction, mercantile faction, the populace, they've now got historically accurate factions. You've got the optimates, the populares, and you've got the boni. So that's really good for specifically Rome. That's a fantastic improvement. Each one of the factions will have its own kind of agenda. So the optimates here want to declare war, and it may be declaring war on a specific enemy of yours, like Etruria or the Samnites or whatever. The Populares want to change laws. The Bonai here wants to invest in a certain settlement. It's like, we need to invest our resources into making Napoli really prosperous. So that's kind of their agenda. And if you are part of this faction, so for example, the consul here is part of the Optimates, if he says, no, I don't want to declare war, he can do a consular veto, but that will really significantly piss off the faction, and you're not going to get support back from them for quite some time.
Interesting. So I'm wondering if, like, you can still do a consular veto if both of your consuls are from the same faction. I guess
I believe so. Yeah.
I guess you could rule it RP wise as like one of them went against the will of the faction because they want more glory for themselves or something. But yeah, I mean the Populares and the Optimates or Optimates, if you want to get really nerdy with it, are the two kind of factions we know about. The Bonai are not one that I was really familiar with before this dev diary, but it kind of sounds like it's
the same for me.
Slightly more conservative values-wise, whereas the Optimates are like they'll shake up the system if it means more power for the aristocracy.
Yeah, it sort of seems like
they've definitely got the funniest name, which is the important thing.
Optimates are basically your elite faction. They want to keep power in the hands of the few. The Populares are your people like Caesar, who, while he did do objectively good things for the people, like the masses, he did it for his own interests at the same time. But he still did good things for them. So I'm just going to put that out there. Don't at me. And then the Bonai.
Why do you hate bread and circuses, all you people? You know? Who doesn't love bread and circuses? Bread's great, circuses are brilliant. You've got clowns.
Yeah, gladiators and stuff.
Exactly. Clowns and gladiators. Maybe the clowns fight to the death. do as two clowns like charge each other in their clown cars.
Nice. Where's the giraffes in this, though?
Oh, well. They're riding with giraffes as they dance each other.
So the Bonai are kind of they're sort of the centrist party almost. Like they just don't want anything to change.
So one of the examples they give is Cicero as being a member of the Bonai. They're definitely the centrist ones. They don't want to shake up the system too much. They're like invested in keeping the Republic safe. So yeah, Cicero being the big example of that. And if you want to learn more about him, Historia Syphilis got a great video recently on him.
Yes, that's an awesome channel.
That's such a fantastic channel. So yeah, I'd not heard of the Bonai before. I'd always heard of Cicero as being a part of the Optimates, but at the same time, he supported Caesar when it was beneficial to the Republic. Then he was against Caesar when it was beneficial to the Republic. Then he supported Octavian when it was beneficial. Like Octavian even called Cicero his father. And then he was against Octavian when it was beneficial for the Republic. So the Bonai seem to be what is best for the Republic. Optimates is what is best for us. And then the Populares are what is best for the masses. Is the way
the Bonai are like Varys in that one scene where he's like, whose side are you on? He's like, the realms. Someone has to be.
Exactly.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah. I'm interested to play around with this. They also mentioned, so for the non-Roman republics, they get oligarchs, democrats, and traditionalists, which are slightly different spins on those three factions, but I'm most excited about the fact. Yeah. Most excited about the fact they said that it's going to be highly moddable and they will probably add unique Republican factions for more government types in the future. So
I feel like the one that they really need to add in this as well, as someone that gets something unique to them, is Carthage. Carthage really needs to have its own.
Yeah. Well, they had the judges, right? Like
Yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% on Carthaginian political theory. I don't know, but it's got to be something different. Even if it was exactly the same mechanics, exactly the same agendas and such, just localize the names. That would be enough for me.
Yeah. Well, and I really like, the other thing I really like about these changes is that it's going to make the factions seem like they are pursuing things proactively instead of just getting in your way when they don't like something. Like if they actually want things, and if you scratch their back every now and then, they'll be willing to scratch yours. Like they'll support your war declaration or whatever, even if they don't necessarily like it.
One of the demands especially seems to be quite rough, and I believe it's one for the Populares. Sometimes they want you to take away holdings from a head of a family. And if you've got a populist in charge and you get that as the demand, it's going to be really tough to avoid pissing people off. Because either you piss off your entire faction by saying no, or you piss off the head of a family by saying yes. And head of families have quite a lot of power, so you might have a civil war on your hands.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that dynamic.
I love it. Yeah, anything that creates more internal conflict, I think, is great for Imperator.
I mean, one of the problems that Stellaris has is snowballing. As soon as you become powerful, it's easier to become more powerful and more powerful and more powerful. Mm-hmm. And this definitely seems like something that could throw a big old spanner in the works.
Yeah.
I think else? For Americans, that's a wrench.
Yeah. Either one works. Anything else about this dev diary before we move on to EU4, which will be kind of our main topic for this week?
No, I think we covered it.
Oh, I think it was pretty thorough.
Excellent. So EU4, we got kind of a bits and pieces dev diary today. It's not the most significant dev diary we've gotten. It is the 57th dev diary for EU4 Emperor.
That's crazy.
So since the expansion is coming up, I think we'll take some time today to kind of look back over everything that's been announced and kind of just talk about what we're most excited about, what campaigns we're looking forward to playing. Before we get into that, anything particular in this dev diary that stood out to you guys?
This one, not that one.
Like most of the things were like mentioned already in the past dev diaries, like the Vassals War France. But like the only thing that there's new over here, like this is also the new one, the Settlers Grove, but it's like I feel like it's not going to change much, this interaction. And like the most important thing over here is the short keys. Yeah, like for everyone that wants to min-max as good as possible, just make the game more comfortable, this will be a quite nice game changer.
I mean, the shortcut mod that Arumba made is a must-have for me in every single game that I play, and I guess they've kind of just made it obsolete.
Well, I still think that it's a little bit weird how they've chosen to implement it, because it's not like most games where you go into a key binding menu and set your key bindings for a bunch of stuff, which they say they can't do. I think you could. I think if you really wanted to, you could. But instead... Yeah, it seems like they've gone to more work to create the system where you can basically just like click things in the interface and set a hotkey for them individually.
Can I be controversial and say I prefer it this way? For this kind of game where you can pause and look around as much as you want, you can actually look at each individual UI thing. That it makes way more sense than trying to come up with a name for everything and then put it in a big long list that just becomes a big long list I'm never going to look at. I hate looking through control menus.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like the list would be like infinite. Like the amount of the things that we could bind over is countless.
Yeah, I never thought about that. It's a lot more user-friendly, isn't it?
Have you ever tried to rebind keys in modded Minecraft? It is a fucking
Yeah.
pain. It is actually a pain. So I'm so in favor of this. This is so much better for me.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah, I never thought about it like that. I think,
Consider yourself
I've been completely persuaded just by about 2 seconds, actually. I thought, oh wow, this is actually really silly, like the way we've done this, but no.
Yeah, I mean,
No, that makes sense now.
every Paradox game should have bindable hotkeys. If this is how they want to do it, fine. Just get them in there. So
let's just hope that we can... well, I mean, not for EU4 because it already does it properly, but for the other games, let's hope that we can take WASD and change them to be map modes, as they always should have been.
I mean, you're wrong, but I will defend to the death your right to do it wrong.
Groogy's on my side. Damn it!
I never use hotkeys anyway. I mean, like,
I would like never
much
forget
using
when
2
I
hands.
tried to make a carpet siege in Imperator Rome and it just didn't work because shotkeys were different than EU4.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing is, like, could you at least, like, standardize the default hotkeys across all of the games? That would be nice.
As long as they standardize it in my favor, then I'm totally fine with that.
But yeah, we got a small look at France has like a law or a nobility privilege now that gives them extra vassal slots, which will kind of help them deal with their vassal swarm. And then you can also adopt that as another nation. If you have at least 2 vassals, you can pick up that privilege. It makes your nobles stronger, but lets you have more vassals, which seems like could be useful in certain situations. And I think they already talked about how they were reworking minority expulsions, but they went over it again in a little bit more detail here, that like expelling a minority from a province will just move development from the source province to the colonial province. You can't just like expel all of the Irish from Ireland in like 50 years or something. Like
Yeah,
you used
you
to be
must
able
have
to
to
do.
waste diplo points for that finally.
Yeah.
I never used minority expulsion because I didn't ever seem worth the diplo.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, I mean,
it's good that they changed it.
The only place I felt like it was worthwhile before is if you were like in multiplayer against like 2 other strong colonial powers, and like every little bonus to settler growth counts because you're just racing people to colonize the New World. That's the only place that I ever thought it was that useful.
Yeah, but still using these diplo points for development is way more efficient in that way.
Right.
Does it still work that way for religious minorities? Like, say if you're expelling Protestants. I assume it does.
It just is. It straight up moves development. So yeah, it won't really matter whether you're expelling a culture or expelling a religion, because either way it'll make the province easier to convert.
Oh yeah, true actually.
Yeah, so it'll work either way. So like, yeah, you could have a province that is, if you're Anglican and there's a province that is both Irish and Catholic, I don't think it'll matter whether you select expel Irish or expel Catholic. Like, they'll both do the same thing. But
what's the difference? We had a lovely comment there in chat. Wait, so does this mean that you can hotkey defenestration? Surely you have to put it on the Y key for yeet them out the fucking window.
Yes. Yeah. No, I'll just be spamming that constantly. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, just like assign each hotkey, so every like spell out yeet and it will automatically bring up the menu. And then,
it's like the freaking ninja class in Final Fantasy XIV, where you have to do a series of hand gestures to use your most powerful moves.
Like Naruto or something.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. Yeah. So more broadly, though, Zlewikk, we can start with you. What are you most excited about with the Emperor update, and what do you think your first major campaigns are going to be?
Yeah, like when we're looking at the new update, there's like two visions that we should take, like decide. It's like single player, multiplayer. The single player side is going to, I think, be really amazing new experience. Most importantly, for the people who played a few thousand hours, this will be a quite nice change. Not only the flavor, not only the quality of life with all the macro builder changes, the state changes, even core old, which will be quite significant.
Oh yeah.
All the new content, the complete rework of the mercenaries. Like for the single player, it might be quite interesting, but for the multiplayer players, it's like a lot of concerns because on the current meta, basically people stick on the assets and developing the provinces because like how they calculate the increase of the local development or local manpower from the development is quite overpowered right now. So we are clicking once and you're getting 1,000 more development in the province, or even more if you get different national bonuses. So like there's a lot of concerns with that people play even more defensive in the multiplayer games, just because instead of conquering a province to get a little bit of development, you need to change the culture, you need to change the religion. It would be just better to stay and develop. And like on top of that, there's like this whole new manufacture that is increasing the fourth lever. So it's like another reason to not attack anyone. Like, well, why would that? I would just lose all my manpower, and instead of that, I can just stay and click the button.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the way that they're using manufactory slots now to allow you to specialize the provinces in other ways that are not necessarily economic is really cool. It kind of reminds me of the duchy buildings in CK3, and I'm wondering if there was some cross-pollination of ideas there. Because like in CK3, if you own the capital of a county of a duchy, you can build a special building that there's only one slot per duchy for that. And yeah, using up your manufactory slot in EU4 seems like sort of the same thing. So, you know, if you have a province that makes, I don't know, fish or something you don't care about, you can be like, oh, I guess we'll use this to get more marines or something like that.
Yeah, I'll just build it on a mountain fort, an extra level.
Right. Yeah. Do you have any idea what your first campaign's going to be?
Oh yeah, it's already planned. I don't know if you're familiar with my series, which is called Double Time Lapse. It's just like two players playing same nation, like of course separately, and then just getting two time lapses on one screen. So I've already decided with Grugi that we'll play as Burgundy. It's nice. Like this nation is getting a lot of changes. Its own achievements to form Lotharingia, the whole HRE mechanics. So I'm really excited to play it. It should be like way better experience than right now. With just a lot of different ways that you can play this nation. You can go into HRE and get your nation a little bit Balkanized, or you can just fight both Emperor of France. Or there is a mission after all that you could take over the French vassals. So this nation seems to have like a lot of flavor to try on.
Yeah, I really want to try out that strategy where you just steal all of France's vassals. That sounds like a lot of fun. And
it does, yeah.
I wish EU4 let you do stuff like that more often, yeah.
Like, imagine stealing all those vassals, then becoming HRE Emperor and adding everything to the HRE.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Burgundy's always been one of my favorite nations to play as. So I'm really excited for Burgundy as well. It's not going to be my first campaign, but maybe third after Dithmarsh and Bohemia, and then maybe it's going to be Burgundy.
Yeah, I think those will probably be my first two as well, or maybe Lübeck. I don't know. I'm definitely going to try Bohemia first, but yeah, Lübeck seems.
Yeah, Hansa will be also quite interesting with the new incidents.
Yeah. And I've never really tried to play Hansa as a colonial power. I think that would be really interesting to try to almost play them the way that like historical Portugal goes, where like you just kind of go for the highest trade value provinces in each node and just like build a really like highly developed outpost there instead of trying to just paint everything your color.
And they're getting the mission for the new world, right? For colonization.
Yeah, they have a mission, I think, for Newfoundland and maybe they can even expand into Canada. I'm trying to remember what the exact parameters of that were, but yeah.
There's a question in the chat about the hegemons and how they would affect the MP. So, like, the requirements, they seem that they're hard to achieve, but for real experienced MP players, it shouldn't be a problem to get that. And like, even though they say in the dev diaries that like nations allying hegemons will be getting a lot of negative statistics, I'm afraid that that might cause even more hack boxes, because like if this hegemon is getting, for example, the naval one is getting Bakar artillery damage, people will want to ally them just to have this artillery on their side. So I'm afraid that people might use it more to do even bigger hack boxes around the hegemons.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it seems like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like EU4, even within multiplayer, you have like different groups of people who have different goals, and they try to support everything. But it seems like it would make sense to have like a rule set for like competitive multiplayer to be something you can toggle on, where like the bonuses for allying other great powers or like allying other players are higher, maybe, just to discourage, you know, those kind of things. But you know, if you're just playing like a role play campaign, it's fine. But it'd be interesting to see different multiplayer rule sets, I think.
Yeah, like multiplayer without the rules is not ending up well. Did you watch the Grand Slam parties? Like Father Loris, we were there, right? Like the Halford hard boxes. Like, you need to always do some rules to prevent that from happening.
Yeah. Right.
So many different rule sets in my Imperator multiplayers that I set up to prevent hug boxes, and nothing yet has worked. So even if you have the most stringent rules, the thing is, a player can still, out of game, talk to another player. They don't have to be allied in game, but they can have a wink and a nod to each other and attack the same player at the same time. It's basically an alliance, but it's also not on paper.
Like you never 100% can't prevent those things from happening. You can just minimize that.
Yeah, I'm trying to like mod it in some way, but like trying to encourage people to fight each other, because often you get two players who just align their interests and then they'll never fight. And like, say, if you got France and Spain, they'll go, "Oh, I'll just take Spain. I'll have the colonial nations, and France, you can have the rest of the continent," or something stupid like that, you know. And then it just kind of takes a lot of fun out of the game.
Yeah, like in 80% of the campaigns that they've played, France and England, they're just friendly to each other, and England every single time is just giving up all the lands in Europe instead of fighting for that.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit pathetic whenever someone does that. At least fight for the throne of France, at least, even if it's futile, you know?
Yeah.
Speaking of France,
were supposed to fix that, but they didn't.
The revolution mechanics, I think, is something I'm really, really excited for. That will really spice up multiplayer late game, especially.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The being able to spread the revolution and like spread the peasants' war, I think is. I mean, it's gonna make Europe's just gonna be so fun now.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I feel like it's gonna almost risk making the other parts of the world feel underdeveloped again, because there's just so much going on in Europe now. That it's kind of it's sort of back to how we were in 1.0, where it's like, yeah, you should probably play in like Europe or the general Mediterranean region, but you can.
The name's on the
elsewhere.
box. It's Europa Universalis.
Yeah, but now it's like almost every region. There's a couple missing. Southeast Asia being a pretty notable one that have had their flavor and mechanics brought up to the level that Europe was originally, and now Europe is getting another boost. So
yeah, I'm just still very sure that Indonesia is like completely out of favor. Like the idea, since instead, like maybe there's Madias and the rest in the Indonesia is just almost generic.
Yeah. Like, yeah, Indonesia, Malaysia, you know, even like Thailand and, Vietnam, that whole area down there definitely could use at least a flavor pack.
I don't think they're going to get it though. I'm still of the opinion that Emperor is the last DLC.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And to be honest, though, at the same time, you're saying that Europe is getting a massive boost from this. In fairness, it's been a while since Europe as a whole got an update.
Yeah, it is.
For example, you think back to, I forget the name of the DLC, but the one that added the stuff for Spain with the your three little buttons.
Yeah,
it wasn't great.
Yeah, but this was like half DLC.
Yeah, I mean, Rule Britannia for Britain, changed up a few provinces, added coal to the whole world, but let's be fair,
which makes it the best
Britain got the most of it.
So, anything that adds coal.
Yeah. But like it's been a while since Europe got something huge, and I think, we had Dharma giving India a whole ton of flavor. We had Mandate Heaven giving China a whole ton of flavor, and Japan. I do think it was Europe's time to get a bit of an update. Some of the provinces there were looking a bit dated.
I think Art of War, I think, was the last big complete Europe patch before this one, because it added the revolution stuff. I think that they did a lot of province changes.
Most importantly, Catholics and HRE didn't have any changes for I don't remember how much time, almost since the beginning.
I do remember the Catholic mechanics before this were what's the best word to describe it? Complete trash. And then they updated it, and now we're getting another rework. So the original Catholic mechanics, I do remember those. I don't remember what patch it was though that changed it, but God, it was bloody awful before.
Yeah, there was in early EU4, there was no reason to stay Catholic. It was pretty
even
much you were
EU4,
choosing to nerf
the version that we've got right now. Catholic is still one of the weaker Christian religions.
Yeah, if you're playing in Iberia and you get the monastic orders, that helps it not feel as bad. I still think they should give those to all Catholics and not just Iberian Catholics. But so
Teutonic orders up there in the Baltic saying, "What's this about holy orders? Yeah, we have no idea what these are."
Yeah, Jesuits. No, get them out of here.
It's completely right now. That's completely the difference in the quality of Orthodox and different Christian religions. That's huge. Orthodox is giving you the bonus to the provinces, giving you icons, is giving you other bonuses. It's it's good that they're changing Catholics. I'm just not sure if this change will be enough to get it even close to what the Orthodox is right now on the single and the multiplayer.
Yeah.
Orthodox got a huge change with Third Rome, which I think was one of the first DLCs that I saw that got a massive backlash. I don't know if that's changed since, and maybe it's seen more warmly now, but Third Rome was the first one I really saw the backlash on.
Yeah, because it's only focus on one region. Now people are used to that. There was Rule Britannia, there was Golden Century, and in comparison to those DLCs, I think Third Rome was even better.
Well, Golden Century got a pretty nasty backlash too.
Yeah, I think Third Rome is definitely better than Golden Century. So it was the first flavor pack, so yeah.
If this is the last DLC, then which one would you say is your favorite?
I don't think it's the last one, but I like Mandate of Heaven because I'm a massive massive weeb. Well, I'm not, but I really like China in this time period. I find the fall of the Ming Dynasty and the rise of the Qing Dynasty very interesting.
Yeah, Mandate of Heaven would be up there. I still think I might have to say Art of War was my favorite overall. Especially if you take the free patch that came with that, so much stuff you take for granted about EU4 was not a thing before the Art of War patch. Like if you go back to pre-Art of War, it is a completely different game.
Yeah, having to siege
every like considered the best DLC of all of them.
Yeah,
like forever.
Yeah,
I definitely will say that Art of War is the best DLC, but for favorite, I think I would rather go with something flavorful, and I think Dharma did it for me on that. I hated playing in India. There was nothing there that I had fun with. And then Dharma came out, and I really enjoyed it.
Having a Mughal run after Dharma came out was just...
Mewar for me. Mewar into Rajputana was so fun.
Yeah, that's a fun
there's
run.
like thousands of tags that you can form in India. It's just beautiful, and all of them have great ideas. Like, I'm never bored with playing in India. You could play a set as more into Rajputana, you can play into Punjab, you can play as Nepal, you can play as Mughals, Deccan, Vijay, like everything.
Yeah, it improves India significantly, and it needed it. Like, it's a huge region, and really important to the time period as well. And it was boring until Dharma. So
right now there's like 256 provinces.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's also crazy that you had that number on the top of your head.
I do think India needs some more work though, because I think it's too hard to colonize India. But historically, India towards the end of the game time periods got pretty much completely annexed. Most of the major ports, most of the major regions owned by the British. But it's almost impossible to do that because it's basically, if you're playing India now, they coalesce into like 3 different major factions, right?
Yeah, 3 is definitely the late game. India does go into 3 power blocks, and it very rarely shifts away from that. I rarely see it go into 2 power blocks because usually one is a little bit stronger than the other, and it will eventually win. But 3 seems like the balance that India always ends up in.
Yeah, plus all the chartered companies from European nations.
Oh, God. Okay, if we're talking about worst features of EU4, that's got to be way high on the list. I hate chartered companies. I hate it so much.
Yeah, but they're changing that in this patch. They mentioned that AI will not do this unless they have any colonization ideas.
Okay, that's a massive change that is fixing my problem. So yay.
Yeah, the player can still do that, and AI will just do that not so often.
That's good.
That's great.
That's very good.
What was it you didn't like about chartered companies before?
Well, say you're playing in India. You're trying to conquer all of India. You want your lovely little borders with the mountains on the east, the west, and the north, and it's going to be all nice. And then the last guy that you've got left to conquer, say it's Bahmanis, just sells a province to the Ottomans, who have no colonial ambitions whatsoever, for no bloody reason. And now you've got to go to war with the Ottomans, who you can't reach because there's a big Timurid in the way. And it's so bloody annoying. There is no fun to be had with it.
Yeah, there's like even worse situations when you want to fully annex Portugal, but Portugal is having process in India, it's having process in Japan, it's having process in China, in Indonesia, and even in some of those provinces there are forts that you need to siege down if you want to take in a peace deal. So it's like taking a lot of time to conquer all of those.
Yeah, in my Mewar to Rajputana run, I was conquering over towards Pegu. Pegu had 4 provinces left. Within a couple of years, they sold 3 of those, 1 to the Papal States, 1 to the Ottomans, and 1 to the bloody French. So I had to go to war with 4 countries for 4 provinces, only one of which existed in that region. Like, it was so irritating. I hate it so much.
Yeah, it seems like I would be all for having something like that modifies war score based on if you've
distance
conquered
from capital.
Yeah, or like if you've conquered all of the provinces that are, connectable by land, on the same continent of a certain nation, it'll just go ahead and give you 100% war score. You just can't demand anything outside of that region, which is already kind of the case because you already can't demand things outside of places where you don't own a fort. like, it makes sense to me that if you can't go conquer their colonial possessions, maybe you can't annex them in the same war. Maybe you have to do that later. But yeah, it seems like, yeah, if you want to like annex Portugal, you shouldn't have to go sail down to like South Africa to occupy their trade post in the Cape of Good Hope or whatever.
And 15 other places.
Yeah, exactly. So
15 islands, all with a fort on each of them. Oh, kill me now.
Fun things I was doing lately, some AI only time lapses for EU4, and like I did like 6, and in 4 of them, China ended up being annexed fully by one nation. It was like in one of the saves it was Spain, in the other it was Great Britain, and the third was even Burgundy. So like I've never seen that happening in my single player playthroughs, and it happens in the AI only sometimes.
Wow. Yeah.
I never see that because usually Ming just explodes and then it's everyone takes their little chunks out of it. But especially not seeing a European taking over the entirety of the country. That's new. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
I have not seen a proper Ming explosion in a long time, actually. Like it seems like they stay pretty stable in my games unless I'm trying to destabilize them.
Yeah.
Like the current patch in 4 and 5 games, they are imploding.
Yeah.
And they used to always explode every single game. The
Yes.
Mandate of Heaven came out and they never exploded. And then another patch came out after that. I don't know which one it was. And then they started being like 50-50. They'll explode in about half your games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I quite like this now, the new system now with a disaster that triggers with the Ming. That's an interesting mechanic. So you actually put like a time limit on it. I think that's the biggest gripe I had with the original, because it was entirely based on the legitimacy of your monarch, right? So it was either Ming was going to explode at the start of a game when it had like a low legitimacy rubbish monarch next in line, or they got like a better air and they didn't explode until like late into the game, if ever. And it was kind of just a random chance if you're going to explode.
Yeah, it was completely random.
And then Mandate of Heaven added the Northern Frontier disaster, which made it a lot more guaranteed if you want to explode Ming.
Yeah, but still AI was doing that really rarely. Developing
yeah.
the hordes so much.
Does it? Yeah. But I think the best addition to China really is the actual mandate system, which before the mandate system, Ming was a lot more expansionist. Now you've got a lot more incentive to be like historical China and just like, take the mindset that the entire world is in China and we just don't give a shit about the outside world.
Just play around with the puppets.
Exactly. We've got everything we desire is in China. So what did the guy say when the British arrived and we were like, oh, we want to buy your tea, right? And we brought all these like trinkets and stuff, clocks and telescope. And it was like, the Emperor was like, what's all this gift shop crap? I don't want any of this. I've got everything I want. I'm the Emperor of China.
Yeah, exactly.
But would you like some drugs?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they found something in the end.
Oh god.
I'm really interested in the mini patch, what kind of manpower we'll be able to achieve. A few days ago, I just decided with this whole MP meta that I was mentioning, how much you can get right now by just developing your provinces, getting a lot of states, a lot of bonuses to the manpower. And I managed to get to almost 12 million of the maximum manpower.
Wow.
So with the Emperor update, I'm sharing in the general the Reddit post about that. You can show it. In the new update with all of those changes, with manufacturers for manpower, I believe it might be even a few times more.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what new ways people find to just do ridiculous stuff with all these new mechanics.
Yeah, just imagine you're getting 90,000 manpower each month, so you're getting stack wide with the full combat with. You can just bring another one in the next month because it's recovered.
Yeah, I think that based on population growth data from the era, that would mean that you're recruiting every person that was born that year
just an army of like
scrapping
infants.
the bar.
Yeah.
From the womb to the battlefield.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you could suck your thumb, you could operate a cannon. All right, get onto it.
Any final thoughts about EU4 Emperor before we move on?
I'm excited.
Yeah, same.
I
was just wondering what people
so
think might be the next path for it after Imperator. Like, I saw someone in the chat there talk about the Fall of Empires, and I think that's something that really needs to be worked on in EU4.
Like usually after the big update, there is just after that, a few months later, a small patch with just changing a little bit of region, like it was with Poland, with Japan. I'm interested if they will be doing something like that after Emperor, or they will stop anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Like, we got a new team there now. Like, I think Johanna and Krugi will want to put their stamp on the game, and that would probably have a little few expansions for them, I imagine.
I just feel like EU5 is around the corner.
I agree. I think EU5 is going to be announced within the next year, and I think this will probably be the last major expansion. There probably will be at least a couple other like Manchu-sized patches, and maybe another flavor pack or two. Who knows? But yeah, I think this. My bet is that this will be the last major expansion for EU4.
Yeah, if EU5 is in the corner, it means they're already doing that. Like, I don't know if you remember that they mentioned that CK3 was started being built in 2016. So like 3 years before they announced it.
Yeah, I would bet that EU5 is already in development. Yeah.
So it all depends on what Wiz is working on. Like, it could be that Wiz is working on EU5 right now.
Yeah, I think there's a high chance for EU5 than Victor F3.
Yeah. Well, we also know they've said on the record that there have been multiple PDS projects that were canceled before they were announced. So he could have been working on something that doesn't exist anymore. But he's clearly doing something. I don't think they just have him tied up in a room away
he's
from
making Victoria's Secrets, isn't he? That's what he's doing.
Oh, yeah. Other than that, like Jay is saying in chat, and like we were saying earlier, I think the next logical major expansion, if they were going to do another major expansion, would have to be Southeast Asia, because it hasn't been touched at all. They could...
Yeah, there are a few possibilities. Southeast Asia, Central and East, like everything in Africa except the northern one, or even the New World a little bit. But I think they touch a little bit of it in the Golden Century, but not that much.
Yeah, I mean, EU4's model of the New World is still, as someone in the 3 Moves Ahead Discord pointed out, literally like a century out of date. But it would be so difficult to model it's like if you're playing in the New World, like if you were playing as like the Mississippians civilization or something, it's just like, and then you're going to lose 90% of your provinces and your population when the Europeans show up. It's like, okay, well, is there a way to make that fun?
Yeah, there is. There is. I don't know if they're going to repair that in the Emperor, but right now there is a way to actually embrace the institutions before the Europeans arrive.
Oh yeah, but how do you model the plagues that hit?
But yeah, like the level that they were devastated by disease, like either if you want to represent it the way that the current historical models believe it actually happened, you would start with the entire map colored in, and then tags would just start like disappearing after the Europeans show. Like development would just evaporate. Like you would just lose most of the people in that entire region of the world, which is kind of hard to make that a fun experience. Yeah. So
yeah.
Although I always have to point out this factoid.
Historical fun.
Like every time this is brought up, like that Columbia, so it worked both ways. Like there was New World disease, like syphilis has ended up killing more people than the very fast spreading diseases from Europe. And syphilis was a New World disease, And it used to be a lot bad. Like, I've forgotten, some monarch or duke, I think his entire nose fell off. Like, that's how bad he had syphilis.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, syphilis, you don't want that.
No, it's not nice.
That's my PSA
this
for
is
the week.
This is not
syphilis,
a pro-syphilis podcast. I just want to make that clear.
Exactly.
Agamede says there, okay, seeing how the maps keep evolving, do you think EU5 will have an actual globe?
I think
God,
there's
I would love
that. I think there's a lot of technical issues involved with that. There's a lot of UI issues. If you guys play, I don't know if any of you guys played Planetary Annihilation.
Yeah, my friend worked on that.
It was like, yeah, it was. Oh, hey, look at this. We got if you're watching live, we got a projection of the EU4 map onto a globe, which is pretty cool. It still has South America in completely the wrong place. But,
yeah, I see also in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just projected onto a globe. You can project your face onto a globe if you wanted to.
Oh, I do that all the time. It's my biggest hobby.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with Planetary Annihilation is, like, it was very hard to, like, find the information you wanted at a glance.
Yeah.
But if they could figure out a way to make it work with a globe, I mean, I'd be all for that. That would be really cool. Yeah. So,
I'd love it. I'd love it. It would make, I mean, you could have the correct projection, like 100% accurate projection. You could, sailing around the world would just be so much better. I mean, you could have it zoomed in so it looks completely flat. But then, like, I don't know. It'd just be great. It'd be great.
I would only be okay with a globe map. Like, if you said you zoom out and it turns into a globe, specifically if it turns out into, like, a nautical globe that you would see in like, a ship captain's cabin, you know?
Right.
Then I would be okay with it, right?
Oh,
like, I don't...
Maybe just separate map mode for the globe.
Maybe, yeah. If there's a way to do that wouldn't, like, lag and crash the game.
Yeah, I mean, if you zoom out far, like in CK right now, CK3, when you zoom out far enough, you get the paper map.
Yeah,
zoom out far enough in EU4, and you'll get globe. That, I mean,
because like,
can it be that?
I like the idea. I like the idea of a globe, but I don't want to be playing EU4 and zoom out and feel like I'm in space. Like I want to preserve.
That's it. Have it like as a cabin, you know, like a little
quick conversion to Stellaris.
Yeah, exactly. Like. I want it to be something thematic like that, where I'm like, I am a ruler overlooking a globe. This is not actually the planet Earth flying through space. I don't want to remember that space exists.
Exactly.
So. You know what I now want? I want this exact map projection thing put on a planet map for Stellaris, so that if you zoom into one of your planets in one of your systems, it'll look exactly like this with the colored countries and everything.
Amazing.
I want that to be a thing.
I think somebody should create a mod for that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and obviously, if they're going to do it on a globe and let you zoom out this far, whenever you get the comet sighted event, there should be an actual comet that goes by.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Leo Panther thought of that idea at, like, exactly the same time I said it. Yeah.
But you can't do that because not everyone
fantastic.
sees the comet at the same time. The comet is like, it must, like, go directly down and then suddenly veer away and come straight back up, because only one country gets the comet at a time.
It just has an extremely elliptical orbit. Yeah, it just brings it down directly over Austria. Yeah, yeah.
That'd be amazing if comet sighted wasn't like a local thing. If it like affected an entire region, like a hemisphere, that'd be amazing. I'd love that.
The entirety of Europe loses a stability at the same time.
Yeah, incredible. I'd love it.
Apart from that one guy who happened to have was it philosopher?
Natural philosopher.
One of the dudes.
Yeah.
So, It's like, haha, we gained a stability while the rest of Europe burns. Riots in the streets for the entire continent.
Yeah,
I think it should be institution based too, like as like, you know, the Renaissance hits.
Yeah, once you
There's
discover
probably some
astronomy.
cultures and religions that see comets as
at least
really good omens. Maybe they should have
probably
a thing.
Well, I think that's going to do it for EU4 this week. We did have another fairly interesting dev diary that's actually for Total War Saga Troy, which is going to be the next major Total War game. And they have kind of an interesting way of including mythical units, but not really. That I was curious to hear you guys' thoughts on, because there will be quote-unquote mythical units in the game, but they're represented as something that could have existed historically. So, like, the Minotaur is a really tall dude with an axe who wears a cow skull. I'm a little bit confused about this, to be honest. Like, I feel like after the success of Warhammer, why not just do the full-on mythical Trojan War with, like, actual gods intervening on behalf of the various sides and, like, real sea monsters and stuff? Yeah. That's probably the route I would have gone. I do see the appeal that, okay, we've never had a Bronze Age Total War game, so it would be cool to accurately represent Bronze Age warfare, but I feel like they've kind of split the difference here and ended up with something that will be not exactly what either side wants, which, I don't know. Do you think it's a good compromise?
No.
So
this was a lot of people's problem with Three Kingdom as well. It seems like after the massive, colossal success that was Total War Warhammer, that they went into doing their game in China and they thought, oh, damn, all the units are... they look the same. We've just come from a game where we've got greenskins fighting humans while dragons fly overhead and the dwarves are shooting them with crazy contraptions. And then they're going into a historical title. The units, they look the same. You've got your archers, you've got your spearmen, you've got your swordsmen. And I think they got worried. So they added in the heroic mode with the characters, like Lubu and all those guys. And they tried to make it a bit more fantastical. They know that a certain portion of their audience, the historical purists, would hate that, so they added what do they call it? They've got
records. Yeah, it's records and romance mode.
Yes, exactly. So they've added that to sort of sate those people. Now they're going into Troy, and they're kind of doing the same thing. They're not going completely historical, and they also can't go completely fantasy. I feel like they need to just pick a lane with the game. Going down the middle is not working. I mean, the multiplayer scene for Three Kingdoms is, honestly, it's kind of dead. It doesn't work. Especially for the romance one, the characters are far too powerful. Whereas the multiplayer scene for Warhammer is incredible. The latest DLC for Total War Warhammer, the Warden and the Paunch, that's got a lot more hype than Three Kingdoms, the base game, did. So
yeah,
they can't keep straddling
Europe,
it.
Like there's that entire market over in Far East Asia, which Three Kingdoms, did phenomenally well. It's for a Chinese audience.
Yeah. Well, and I think they announced that Total Warhammer 2 hit its highest peak concurrent players ever after this latest update, which, I mean, it's really good. It's really, really good.
It is, it is.
Yeah, I mean, one thing about the dev diary, they did mention the myth units. You won't ever be required to recruit them. It's something you kind of have to go out of your way to pick up, and the AI will not be that inclined to do so. So it seems like it's kind of a thing where, like, okay, yeah, you can ignore it if you want to, but then also, like, presumably you're going to have, like, Achilles running around as, like, a badass, ultra warrior anyway. So I'm not sure why it would be that much of a stretch to, have a guy with a giant cow skull. I do wish they had gone full mythical. Like that would have been my preferred way to do this. But
yeah, I agree. I think out of the two, I mean, I would love to have another historical title. Mostly I want Medieval 3.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do Troy, which has a whole lot of mythical stuff, legends, and all that kind of thing, then go with it. Did the whole war of over Troy, I mean, did they even know if it actually happened? Like, that's another one of the questions.
Yeah. Well,
it could have.
And if you think about how some of like the Vampire Coast factions play in Warhammer 2, like I would have loved to be like, okay, I can play as Odysseus and I can just go around all these like weird islands and then suddenly I'm in a battle with some harpies or something. But it's not going to be quite the same if it's just like women who wear bird skulls over their heads and have like, I don't know, daggers or something. Like that's
a cape made of feathers.
That seems like a lot less compelling. Yeah.
So, no, I mean, it's a bloody cool model. I'll give him that. That Minotaur does look fantastic. But
yeah. Well, and it sounds like ability-wise, like they are making them supernatural. Like they said, the giants can knock down city gates by themselves, which, like, if you're just a big muscly dude in the Bronze Age, like, more power to you, but I don't think you can knock down a city gate by yourself. No. I don't think that's going to happen. Like, maybe if it's a really poorly made gate, but you can ram your shoulder into that thing all day. I don't think it's going to move.
See, the thing is, if they had leaned into the mythical stuff, there's already a Minotaur model for Warhammer. Just rip it right out of there.
Yeah, the Gorgle.
Just a beast
that
man
Minotaur
in the
model looks bloody good. There's already harpies. There's already giants, although I guess you'd probably want to redo the giant. I guess the Cyclops, there's the Cygor, doesn't really work. You'd have to redo that one, but like I said, they're straddling the line, and I don't like it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. Before we go, I know that at least 3 of us have been playing a fair bit of the Warden of the Paunch. Do you guys want to share any interesting stories from your campaigns?
Oh my goodness! Well, just Grom's abilities, especially that fish breath that you can have, is just so powerful. It's really, really good. But in the Mortal Empire campaign, it's such a hard start, but it's so challenging. You start surrounded by territory that you can't really occupy because it's like it's just so expensive to develop, and you're constantly getting right. So you just go around burning stuff until you can make a mad war for Ulthuan or something, or go east. I haven't found a good strategy to win as Grom yet, but it's been a lot of fun playing it. And the voiceovers, oh my goodness, the voiceovers. I've forgotten how good the voiceovers for all of the greenskins is, especially the goblins. It's like, we're the gobos! And oh my goodness, it's amazing. Yeah. Lads. Oh, it's great. They're like little Weasley football hooligans. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, the Orcs and Goblins are all about, football hooliganism. That's sort of where a lot of their inspiration came from.
Definitely. So,
I've been having a ton of fun recently, including today and yesterday and the day before, playing as Imric of Calador in the Mortal Empires campaign. That is so much fun. Going around collecting dragons is it's great. His campaign is a lot of fun. Yeah. I mean, when you first start the campaign, you're like, okay, I just got to take out these dwarves, and then suddenly the most scary Skaven guy comes over with a ton of armies, and you're like, oh shit, I can only afford 1 army, and he's coming over with 4. And now you got to scramble to defend yourself against him, try and take him out. Then as soon as you got him finished, the Greenskins and Grimgor might come over with a big war to take you out. You got to defend against that. There's Dark Elves to your south. All of the time you're like collecting these dragons. It is so good. And honestly, out of Grom, Eltharion and Imric, Eltharion and Grom you had to pay for. Imric was free, and he's the best. He is just the best. I love him. Yeah.
Alethanar was free too, and he's probably one of my 5 favorite lords in the entire game. They've given away some really good lords for free. I started yesterday. I started a game as Wurtzag and the Savage Orcs, and you beat up Grimgor, confederated his faction. Was that in before that if you defeat the leader of the greenskin faction?
That was added this patch.
Okay, so that was just added, yeah. So I inherited all of his territory, and now I've got Clan Eshin and Clan Morse with all their little hidden strongholds in the mountains that I'm trying to weed out. But the like area between where Thorgrim's capital is, which Carrack is he?
Kadrin.
Yeah, that little strip that like kind of wraps around the eastern edge of the map has just been a tug of war between me and the dwarves for like, I don't know, like 30 turns now. Because you take so much cold attrition trying to get up that pass into like the Empire Mountains that neither of us can like hold it for long. So it's just been like this protracted back and forth battle. So yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with that. I also streamed some of my Alethanar game that didn't go that well because, well, the Sword of Cain, it's double-edged. It is a double-edged sword.
As I told you.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It's really powerful, and that army is not going to die. But it's also going to have to fight an awful lot of rebels, and you can't be everywhere.
Exactly. But yeah, definitely go check out that VOD on the Lore Sworn Order channel if you haven't, because I won't give away how it ends, but it was very appropriate for the Sword of Cain and the comeuppance that we received. But yeah. So, yeah, before we get out of here for this week, first of all, since you're our guest, Zlewikk, what have you been up to lately, and where can people find your stuff?
Oh, lately, like the last 2 weeks, I was working on this manpower run that I showed you. It's like so exhausting. You need to min-max lots of things. So right now, I'm just taking a little bit of break from playing EU4 except multiplayers. And I'm just doing the Observer game that I also mentioned, where Burgundy just ate the whole China. Then just creating this double time lapse and get finally, the hands-on pre version of the Peru patch. Hopefully next week.
Yeah, looking forward to that for sure. Lambert, what have you been up to, and where can people find your stuff?
I'm Lord Lambert over on YouTube. Playing a lot of Imperator lately. Started a new multiplayer campaign. I started as Parnia and died in the second session, so now I'm the Observer again. Also started a new campaign a couple of days ago as Sparta, going for Laconic If and Molan Labe achievements. And there's also a Total War Warhammer 2 head-to-head campaign I'm doing with a friend of mine. That's going up. I'm playing as Grom in that, and that's a hell of a lot of fun.
Nice.
We're going to be streaming that tomorrow over on my YouTube channel and his Twitch, so check that out. It's fun.
Loris, what have you been up to, and where can people find your stuff?
I've been working on a set of comics for a project coming up. Should be a set of 10 comics. That should be announced soonish. Fingers crossed.
Nice.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. Do some
nice.
DIY. Making use of the weather. It's lovely.
Fantastic.
We've got like 2 days of summer in Wales, so good advantage of them.
Yeah, so I've been, you can always find me on Twitter. I'm AsaTJ, that's ASATJ. I'm back streaming on a regular schedule, believe it or not, on the Lore Sworn Order channel. We're going to be streaming Sunday, Monday during the day, US time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time to be specific, 10 a.m. Pacific, and then Wednesday nights, so basically an hour after this show ends, which will be 4 p.m. my time, which is what, 6 Eastern, something like that. DM and I are going to be doing a co-op stream, and I think we're going to start with the Souls series. So definitely keep a lookout for that. Lore Sworn Order on Twitch and YouTube. as always, subscribe to us. Follow us on Twitch.
I do love how it's called Mountain Time too. It's like so mythical, isn't it? It's like
Oh yeah. Well, nobody lives here, but yeah, we do have the coolest time zone in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, we should call European ones, like the central like forest time and sea time and stuff like that. It's way cooler.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah. Mountain time, it's an hour ahead of Pacific time. If you know Pacific time, just add an hour, and that's where we are.
I don't.
But yeah,
American time zones. You've got too many. Just have one.
At least it's not the Australians where they have like half an hour one. Like, what's that?
Yeah,
there's an Asian country
zones.
with a quarter of an hour one as well, isn't there?
Is there? Oh my goodness, they should be expelled from the UN. Whoever did that.
Yeah, exactly.
It might be North Korea, so they probably don't have a UN seat, but I don't know.
Everyone's about member of the Security Council, North Korea.
Yeah, I think we're GMT -6 or 7, depending on what time of year it is. But yeah, I'd have to look at that. Anyway, follow us on Twitch.
It will be, I think, 7 even right now.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, subscribe, follow us on Twitch, subscribe, Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, wherever you get podcasts, all that good stuff. Agamade, I have to give a shout out in chat, has taken the initiative to edit all of our previous episodes into YouTube videos so that literally all I have to do is click upload, so I don't have any more excuses.
That's great. Thank you,
Agamade. You are an absolute star.
So I even asked him not to, because I said I don't want you to just do this for free, and he was like, "Well, I'm going to anyway." So Agamade now gets a shout out as our interim video producer. Zlewikk, thanks for being on the show. More than likely, we'll have you back at some point in the future. And until next time, we'll see you guys.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.